they were actually playing a game.
This is when he was on the cross, right?
Before, when they were
when they mocked him.
yeah, when they mocked
and they
him,
dressed him in robes and they put the crown on him and wrote the
they would
subscription.
dress him up as a king and bet for clothes and stuff. So that's actually a game that was in the cement over in Golgotha, actually. So,
Well, how did they play the game? In case
They cast lots.
Okay.
They cast lots.
Yeah, that's all I was wondering
Yeah.
if it was
Yeah.
if it happened while he was at the cross, because that's what they said that they were doing when he was on the cross. They said that he was casting lots.
well, this is just a game that they would play.
Oh,
So, you know, I'm not saying that this was the same piece that happened with Jesus,
Oh,
but
okay.
this was actually in the stone, so they did do that back in the day, and
Oh, wow.
it was called the Game of the Kings.
okay.
Again, okay, this is Mount Arbel. I just have just a little piece. That's Sea of Galilee, where all those things happened. Jesus walking on the water, the storm, and everything. And you know, when Jesus would go to a mountain to pray, they believe this was right on the sea. So they believe that this may have been one of the mountains that Jesus went to pray. And when we were up here, we were doing a little faith lesson, and then the person who was leading us told us to pick a spot on the mountain and pray. So this was where I was, and just praying and just, you know, having a conversation with Jesus. This is Dead Sea, as y'all saw before. I just thought it was really cool because you just float. As soon as you get in the water, you're floating. You don't have to swim or anything.
Yeah, because
That was
of
my
the salt.
salt.
It's close to salt.
Because of the salt inside, and it happened right over near, so it was like really cool to see.
So everybody floats. It don't matter who you
No
are.
matter who you are, you will not sink in that water. And actually,
Nothing lives in that water.
Nothing
yeah,
Nothing
nothing.
lives.
But it's supposed to be good for healing the body.
It is.
Any kind of ailment.
It burns when you get in.
There,
You have to get in.
there's so many minerals. Russia would love to get a hold of the Dead Sea because it's worth about $20 trillion. All the minerals that's in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
What people would do, they get the mud from the bottom and they put it all over their skin
Yep.
to help heal the skin and stuff. So
Oh, man.
yeah, as soon as you get in, you ever been on like those little pool things where you're just floating? That's how it felt.
Oh yeah.
You don't have to. If you try to swim,
Yeah,
you're
that's
just
true.
gonna.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work. You just float.
Yeah, but I was going to say to you, your skin looks good. I didn't think when I
Yeah.
when I first saw you.
Yeah.
Did you grab something from the bottom?
I tried to, but I couldn't get to the bottom.
Couldn't get it.
That's how much I was floating.
So you
Yeah.
didn't go underwater, right? Anybody go underwater?
It was hard to get underwater. That's
Yeah,
how
I was
much you
gonna say,
floated.
I wouldn't want to go.
Yeah, you just float. I didn't expect that going in, and the next thing I know, I walk in. The next thing I know, I'm like this. I was like, whoa, what's happening?
So you didn't even go that deep when you're floating.
Nope. Yep.
Wow.
Because it's salt.
Because of
Yeah, it's full of salt.
Mm.
That's the most saltiest one.
I remember that.
Yep.
His Lot's wife was turned to a pool of salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really quite potential there. Okay, so what
Oh,
do
this is
you
cool.
think of when you think of locusts? John the Baptist.
Oh yeah, that's
And
right.
I
'Cause
say
that's what he's
grasshoppers.
about.
I said
That's what I was
That's
thinking.
what he's
Jesus.
about.
Yeah, that's what I thought. This is locust.
It's a fruit?
It's actually- It's actually when you break it open,
Oh yeah.
it has like, I forget the name of it, but it's kind of like chocolate, but it's very bitter when you eat it. So he had honey with it to make it a little bit sweeter. So I thought that was really cool.
Locusts and honey.
They
Yep.
used to make, I hear people used to make beer from that.
Oh yeah.
Beer or wine or make some type of,
Maybe,
my
yeah.
grandparents.
I forget the name of it. It starts with a C, but I thought that was really cool. I was
Like cocoa?
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit. But it's, I don't know, it's very bitter. So he added honey to sweeten it
You
out.
ever tried that powder, that Hershey's cocoa with the big
It's bitter.
If you taste it, it's very bitter.
Very good.
Yeah, cocoa is bitter.
Yeah.
By itself.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool.
That's pretty cool.
Okay.
Hi everybody. We get some seats for him, ready? Get some seats.
Let me sit right here. Just bring a couple more chairs.
Okay.
I think there's 2 seats over here too, on the wall.
Okay. Yeah, y'all just have a seat right here for now. And
Alright. And last thing I'm going to show, I think it's the last thing.
You know, it's really interesting with the locusts. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
because I was thinking he's eating giant grasshoppers.
Yeah, I did too.
That's what, you know,
But hanging on that tree, I thought they were like immature bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, it's like, it's cool because, you know, little things like that, you have one view of what it is, but then when you go there, it's, you know, because you're actually living in the country. And what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so like, it was really cool. Like the places that we went, we would have a little like mini Bible study and just talk about what happened here, go through scriptures, read scriptures wherever we were, and then he would give us a faith challenge. So one time he took us in the middle of a field and it had wheat and tares. So he talked about the parable of the wheat and the tares, and actually showed it looks exactly the same. You have to be careful. Like when you see the tare, you have to pick it because if it grows up with the wheat, it just ruins the whole batch. So I just thought that was cool. Yeah. So
and they
it's
look
like
alike.
they look alike.
So that's what Jesus said, don't remove the tear, because you might pull up the wheat.
Yeah, so I thought it was cool.
That's pretty cool.
And this was actually the first story that I went through, or I thought was like really cool. All the other stuff that you learned, or I just talked about, was towards the end of the trip and then also middle. But this was like one of the very first wow moment. So I will read John 9. Actually, I'm going to start John 8 verse 59. It says, "Then took they up stones to cast at him. But Jesus hid himself and went out of the temple." So remember that temple. "Going through the midst of them, and so passed by." Starting in chapter 9. "And as Jesus passed by, he saw a man which was blind from his birth. And his disciples asked him, saying, Master, who did sin, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, Neither hath this man sinned, nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. I must work the works of him that sent me, while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had thus spoken, he spat on the ground and made clay of the spittle, and he anointed the eyes of the blind man and with clay, and said unto him, Go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation sent. He went his way, therefore, and washed and came seeing. So, we started out here, Temple Mount. And, took pictures and everything. I didn't know where this was going. So, we walked some, ended up near the city of David, walked some more, went through the Hezekiah tunnels. Notice we're going down, walked some more, went through the tunnel, that's through the tunnel. The tunnel was very small, so if you're claustrophobic or whatever, you've been freaked out. You had to crawl, it was very dark, we had flashlights to go through, and we were using the flashlights halfway, and then John, the guy who was in charge, he said, okay, now turn your flashlights off. So we had to walk the rest of the way in the water that went up probably mid-thigh in the dark. So it was definitely an experience. I had to walk and stuff like that. So yeah, it was really.
I would have liked that.
Oh, it was cool. It felt good actually because it was hot and then you go.
But it was cold, but it felt
It was
good.
cold, yeah. It felt good. So we walked through the tunnel. Walk. This is me coming out.
Yeah, see you in the water.
This is us coming out. Now we're about to walk up. Walk up again. Going down, and you see that little thing right here? This is the pool of Siloam. So, what he was telling us, how he was first at the Temple Mount, saw the blind man, put some stuff on his face, and told him to go wash in the pool of Siloam. So, me thinking, reading this Bible beforehand, thinking, oh yeah, the pool's just right there for him to walk. But no, it was a far distance. And what John was telling us was, how bad did that man want it? He was walking where this was still blind. He had to have faith to know that, he's going to get washed, he's going to get healed, and he had to walk that far to go wash, and then he could see. So I thought that was really cool because me thinking in my head the pool's right there, but no, it was a distance. So he said, how bad do you want it? How bad are you willing to get what God has promised you? And, you know, you have to pretty much walk by faith. You know, he didn't see.
That's what it is, you know?
He didn't have a flashlight. Yeah, and he had to go up those steps, and down those steps, and through the tunnel, just to watch. And he's got clay on his eyes, walking.
Paths,
But he was already blind.
Yeah.
So you know he didn't see anything.
Yeah.
But people probably looking at him funny.
Yeah, exactly.
So he went through all the same way you had to go through to get to.
It was probably a little bit different because that was kind of like man-made, the stairs and everything. But it was, honestly, I think it was rougher because, you know, it was kind of easy just going up the steps with handrails and stuff. So he was probably tested.
And you know something too? He had that stuff, he had that mud on his eyes, and everybody said, what's
Yeah.
wrong with
Yeah.
you? What are you
Why
doing?
you
Why don't you go back where you were?
I know.
Yeah.
And that's the part is when you're walking by faith. They said, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
You know, this. Why are you doing this? But you got to do what God told you to do. If people don't understand, they'll, you know, but you got to keep doing what He told you to do. Keep walking where He told you to walk.
And you know,
Get where He told you to walk.
the thing is that the blind man, he knew where the pool was. So he probably knew this area, was familiar with enough with the area, because I was thinking, you know, how would he know where the pool is so? But he lived probably somewhere near the temple. He probably came to the temple every day just to see Jesus, and then walking back by the pool to wash. And why Jesus told him to wash there, it was a walk of faith.
Yeah.
And
Would
the
he
other
go
thing
that
too,
far?
when Jesus told him to do it, He didn't say why.
Yeah.
He didn't say why. Why do I have to go down here to the? He just went ahead and did it.
What was going to help me?
He just went and did it.
He also, but you know what else stuck out to me?
Mhm.
When Jesus said He is exceedingly abundantly more than what we could ever ask or think. David was a shepherd, and the wall with the city of David.
Yeah.
That's right.
The city of David.
It's huge, and we were actually in the city of David. We were up on a roof where they said that because the roof was really high up, and you could see down in the city. So they said that's how David was able to see Bathsheba, you know, bathing and stuff. So I thought it's just really cool just to see. Yeah, this is again cool. So that pretty much concludes it. I just, you know, was just amazed at the whole thing and just how the story actually came to life, and I understand a lot more about the Bible and just little details that makes me understand it a little bit more. Like, God is a God of details, and like, for instance, the whole trip, you know, we eating different food and stuff, so I just wanted a peach. You know, I was like, man, I wish I could have a peach. Juicy peach. Like when you're hiking up mountains and, you know, stuff is stabbing you in the leg and it's hot, you're drinking like 2 or 3 bottles of water a day, like this big, and just, it was great. But then, you know, you're going to start craving some stuff. Like I craved a juicy peach. I was like, man, I would love to have a juicy peach. This was like throughout the whole trip. So the last couple of days, we went to the Sea of Galilee. We stayed there for 4 days. We were staying in Bethlehem the whole time. So we went to the Sea of Galilee, and in the hotel, they served us food. So the first meal that we got, I had a peach. The second meal we got, had another peach. I thought that was really cool because, you know, just the little things. I mean, it's not like I asked for a peach. I was just thinking it'd be pretty cool to have a peach right now. And it was just so random that it was like, oh, is that a peach? And it was amazing, first of all. And then also, God just reminded me, a couple years back when I was at the vineyard, they used to do, what are those little groups called? They would come to home groups and they would pray for each other. So what happened when I was sitting in the chair and everybody was around me, and then they would just listen to God's voice, and they would just, you know, say what they feel that God was talking. So one of this, I believe it was a lady that told me, I believe it was Miss, what's her name? She's Hispanic.
Miss Beatrice?
Beatrice.
Yeah.
I believe it was her, and she said, she was like, Jesus says you're like a peach.
Oh,
You wanted one and he